remarkable experiences. It seemed to confirm it. But could his hunch... In the last 40 years, we have developed the ability to transplant a heart from one body to another. In that time, intriguing experiences have emerged from recipients who felt their personality had changed after their transplant. It was enough to prompt some scientists to look differently at the heart and test old theories that the heart is involved in our feelings and emotions.
The heart is a connective organ, a gentle organ. It's a different type of intelligence. I don't know all about its intelligence. That's what we need to learn. And how we learn that is by asking openly questions about people's hearts, not dismissing them as poetry, that metaphor, saying maybe there's something to this.
Professor Pearsall collated his research into a book called The Heart's Code. In it, he explored these stories about organ transplant patients and what they reveal about where we store our memories. Simultaneously, on the opposite side of America, Professor of Psychology and Psychiatry from Yale University, Gary Schwartz, was developing a new theory of how memory could work.
I was studying how feedback mechanisms are involved in learning. When we talk, for example, about how the brain learns, we talk about what are called neural networks in the brain. It turns out that the way a neural network works is that the output of the neurons feed back to the input of the neurons. And this process goes over and over again. And so long as the feedback is present, the neurons will learn. If you cut the feedback, there is no learning in the neurons. And the implication is that it's important for the neurons to have the feedback in order to...
Yes, folks, the universe and us in it. We are spectacular, are we not? We're going to talk about cellular memories, and I'm going to do it with my co-host, Professor Jeffrey Greff. Jeffrey, what do you think of that clip there?
Well, I actually saw that clip a long time ago and have thought about it deeply and have come up with all kinds of different theories and whatnot. The reason that's such a great clip is because it's completely empirical information. As you know, John, to speak strongly, I just cannot stand all kinds of wild philosophy making that goes on in academia just endlessly. It's just horrible. So when you have something like that clip, it's basically just people's testimony. So it's almost like the social sciences, anthropology and sociology. So you just treat their testimonies as empirical evidence and then just make up a theory just one step beyond that. And you can come up with some amazing stuff that's pretty reliable because it's based right in what you can see with your eyes, somebody telling you something. Now, all kinds of wild philosophy. But, what I've come to is that consciousness, the obvious, of course, is that consciousness does not exist in the brain. John, I'm just kind of irritated, so I'm just going to speak bluntly. The stupid academics all along have been telling us when I was a student as an undergrad at the University of New Mexico doing an independent study under Paul Watson, nice guy there, in the biology department. But I remember those guys used to say consciousness is physical. They'd get all mad at me when I suggested it wasn't, because I was doing an independent study in the biology department there back in the early 1990s on the evolution of consciousness. And what I found, of course, after that year-long study is nobody has a clue how any evolution of the brain or consciousness happened. Right. But I remember them getting all upset with me saying consciousness is in the brain, and I would, all I had to do, John, was just say, why do you say that? And then I would instantly, their ridiculousness would have been shown. And if any of you guys are listening, sorry to be harsh, but I had a great time with you, but you guys were just crazy for pushing that propaganda on me. And that just shows the academics how, and that contaminates television and churches, and everybody starts to think, consciousness is part of the brain. I knew it all. When I saw that video clip, I just wanted to do the biggest "I told you so" ever to everybody. Said I knew it all along. Yeah. So that's just some of the things. I could go on and on, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I obviously think that consciousness is outside the brain. Not, you know, here's. Look, I don't want to ruin the show by saying everything up front that I believe, but I can really sum it up in one sentence, and that is that your soul is conscious, and thus, you know, it has memories, and the soul saturates your body, transferring conscious memories. I mean, it's just that simple. But let me also say this. There's a lot of people out there that when they were younger, they did a little maybe mushroom or psychedelic something or other, and they had out-of-body conscious experiences. And I did on one occasion, the first time I ever did anything. And folks, all I know is that I shot up straight out of my body to about 100 feet above myself, and I could see me laying there. I was actually with a friend, and I'm not condoning this, folks. I'm just saying this is the truth. And I looked down, and I could see myself and a friend of mine laying there in the grass, about 10, 15 feet next to a railroad track way out in the country. And I started to go, you know, one direction down the track, and then I stopped and I turned, and something caught my attention, and it was a light. And I couldn't quite understand what that light represented. And what had happened, well, what happened next was my friend was yelling and shaking me, woke me up instantly. My consciousness was back in my body, and he was afraid that I was out of my body and that I would die of fright if if the train came by, it scared me, I would, my consciousness would zap back into my body, and I might jump up and run, forward and get run over by a train. But maybe a little overly concerned, but a good friend, I guess, tends to be that way. But that was my first thought ever, and I was, I think, 19. That was my first concept of the possibility of we are not our body. We're something else. And, of course, I've taken that road for about 30-some years. So, what other thoughts do you have on this cellular memories? He was talking about a heart, but there are also people that have accepted memories from other body parts. Yeah, bone marrow, blood, all sorts of stuff. What do you think of that?
Well, let me say something. Let's pick up on that after the break, if it's okay, since we're right up against the break.
Sure.
Let me say something with respect to what you just said. I had a student. These psychedelic experiences that people report are no joke in many cases. And it's not like beer or something, and it's a lot different even in some ways than pot, which also is actually a mild psychedelic treated as a religious substance in many cultures. But I had a student at Indiana University Northwest when I taught there, and he told me about his experience. He had an ecstasy that changed his whole life. He was at some pool party in high school, and he went out back by the pool. He said he saw this alien that talked to him or something, and he said it forever changed his life. He changed from being an atheist to a theist and all kinds of just amazing things. And that really influenced me when he said that. I really wondered what's behind all these experiences. Very interesting.
What a cliffhanger. We'll be right back. So, Jeffrey, just towards the end of the break, you were talking about a student of yours that had taken some substance, I assume, and seen an alien, I guess, at the swimming pool, huh?
Yeah, it was this. I remember this. It was when you teach in university, when you teach philosophy. This was a metaphysics class that I taught. That was the name of it, metaphysics. And it was a lot of fun to teach. That was the only time I taught metaphysics in all my 8 years of teaching. I mean, specifically that class called that. which is my favorite one. But when you teach